One sentence. That's all it took. One sentence from Shedeur Sanders to send the NFL into full-blown panic mode. Not a rumor, not a leak, not some anonymous source. Live on ESPN, straight to the camera. Calm, cold, calculated. And in that moment, the balance of power in Cleveland shifted forever. This wasn't just a rookie sounding off. This was a quarterback detonating the system from the inside out. And as his words echoed across locker rooms, front offices, and living rooms around the country, one thing became brutally clear: Shedeur Sanders isn't waiting for permission anymore. He's taking the future by force. Shedeur Sanders leans into the ESPN camera with a grin, not the nervous smile of a rookie, but the cool, knowing look of a man who already understands the firestorm he's about to ignite. And then he drops it. I don't control who benches me, but everyone knows what happens when I actually get on the field. Boom. That was it. A line so sharp it cut straight through the NFL's tightly polished PR machine. A soundbite that wasn't just a quote, it was a bomb. No whispers behind closed doors. No anonymous sources feeding rumors to insiders. Just a rookie quarterback planting a flag on live television. The clip went nuclear. Social media blew up within minutes. Players reposted it. Commentators rewrote their scripts mid-show. ESPN's own panel literally stopped in shock, like, wait, did he just say that? Yes, he did. And in that moment, Shedeur Sanders didn't just call out Kevin Stefanski's decisions. He ripped the curtain off the Browns' entire power structure, exposing the fragile control the coaching staff had been clinging to. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't some rookie being too emotional. No, this was surgical. It was precise. Because Shedeur wasn't just challenging his coach. He was sending a message to the entire league. The old way of doing things is over. Old school versus new school. You see, this wasn't really about Shedeur versus Stefanski. It was something bigger, a clash of eras. On one side, the old guard, coaches barking orders, keeping players quiet, demanding obedience over authenticity. On the other, the new wave, players who are media savvy, brand aware, confident, and unafraid to speak their truth in front of millions. Shedeur is the face of that new wave, and Cleveland just found itself in the middle of a culture war it wasn't ready to fight. The Browns' QB purgatory. For weeks, honestly, months, the Browns kept Shedeur stuck in limbo. Everybody could see the talent. He had outshined backups in practice. Every limited snap he got in games, electric. The numbers didn't lie. The tape didn't lie. The energy didn't lie. But he stayed on the bench. Not because he wasn't ready. Not because he wasn't good enough. But because the coaching staff didn't plan for this. They drafted him, sure, but they didn't expect him to be this good this fast. And instead of adapting, instead of leaning into the momentum, Stefanski and his staff froze. They were terrified because the nightmare for any coach isn't drafting a bad player. It's drafting a player who makes you look wrong. And that's exactly what Shedeur became. The line that became a movement. So when Shedeur looked into that camera and said, "Everybody knows what happens when I actually get to play," it wasn't just confidence. It was liberation. The line spread like wildfire. Fans were already printing it on t-shirts. Locker rooms around the league were buzzing. Veterans nodded in respect. Younger players saw it as a rallying cry. Even Browns players themselves? They couldn't hide their reactions. Some were liking the clip within minutes. Others were reposting it with emojis that said more than words ever could. And Stefanski? He looked like a deer in headlights in his post-game press conference. Reporters didn't even need to grill him. They just kept repeating, "Did you hear what Shedeur said?" No real answers. Just the usual coach cliches. We're evaluating all positions. We like our team. We're focused on next week. Please, nobody was buying it. The truth was already out there. And once the truth goes viral, it becomes leverage. Why players respect it. There are a lot of things that earn respect in an NFL locker room. Toughness, work ethic, grit, but nothing hits harder than telling the truth when it costs you. That's what Shedeur just did. He didn't protect his image. He didn't play politics. He didn't hide behind polite rookie answers. He spoke up, and that boldness didn't just resonate with fans. It resonated with the men sharing that locker room with him. Because here's the reality. Younger guys see it as courage. Veterans see it as leadership. And fans? Fans see it as someone finally saying out loud what they've been screaming for weeks. And once that happens, you can't put the genie back in a bottle. Fallout and locker room shifts. The fallout wasn't slow. It was instant. Within minutes of that ESPN segment, phones were buzzing in locker rooms across the league. Retweets, reposts, reaction videos. Shedeur Sanders had hijacked the NFL conversation with one calm, calculated sentence. And back in Cleveland, the ripple effect was impossible to ignore. Players didn't need reporters to tell them what was happening. They could feel it. In the cafeteria, in the weight room, in hushed conversations during practice, it was clear. The balance of power had shifted. Kevin Stefanski? He looked rattled. That night, his press conference said everything without saying anything. Dodging questions, repeating cliches. We're evaluating all positions. We like where we are. We're focused on next week. But the words rang hollow. Reporters weren't buying it, the fans weren't buying it, and worst of all, his own players weren't buying it. Because here's the truth, nothing spreads faster through a locker room than authenticity. Players respect toughness. They respect talent. But what earns respect the fastest? Honesty. And that's what Shedeur delivered. Raw, unfiltered, unshakable honesty. Younger teammates saw boldness. Veterans saw courage. Fans saw someone finally saying what they'd been yelling from the stands for weeks. Why is this kid still on the bench? And suddenly, the Browns' so-called quarterback plan looked less like strategy and more like fear. Fear of being proven wrong. Fear that the rookie they wanted to hide was too good, too soon. Think about it. This wasn't about readiness. Shedeur's practices spoke for themselves. His limited snaps showed poise beyond his years. The tape backed it up. The numbers backed it up. But keeping him off the field protected the status quo. Protected egos. Protected the old guard. Now, that illusion was shattered. A single ESPN mic drop had pulled back the curtain for everyone to see. And here's where it gets even more dangerous for Stefanski. The merch. That quote, "Everybody knows what happens when I actually get to play," wasn't just trending, it was being printed on shirts overnight. What looked like a throwaway soundbite was transforming into a movement. Fans weren't just cheering, they were rallying. Meanwhile, the locker room was buzzing louder than ever. One veteran offensive lineman liked the clip within minutes of it airing. A defensive starter quoted it word for word in a media scrum. Facts. Facts. That kind of support, that's not noise. That's a signal. Because in football, once the players start leaning toward the quarterback over the coach, the clock is ticking. It's not about if change is coming. It's about when. And Stefanski knew it. His play calling got tighter. His interviews got shorter. His body language screamed defense. Not on the field, off it. Like a man coaching with one eye always glancing over his shoulder. The Browns thought they were managing a quarterback depth chart. What they were really managing was a power shift. And the control they thought they had, it was already gone. The storm and the shift. If part one was the spark and part two was the locker room tremor, part three was the explosion. Because the second Shedeur Sanders line hit social media, the media machine kicked into overdrive. Talk shows scrapped their rundowns to cover it. ESPN's own panel replayed the clip like a touchdown highlight. NFL podcasts across the country changed their thumbnails overnight. Even rival players, guys who had no reason to care about the Browns, were reposting it with fire emojis and wide-eye reactions. This wasn't just a rookie soundbite anymore. It was a cultural moment. And here's the part that had Cleveland sweating the most. Shedeur wasn't backtracking. No apology. No, I misspoke. No rookie learning curve humility tour. He doubled down without saying a word. Common practice. Sharp in interviews. A cryptic Instagram story here and there, just enough to keep the internet buzzing. That silence, that composure, it made the Browns look even weaker. Because every day he sat on the bench, the pressure grew. Not just from fans, not just from reporters, but from inside NFL front offices. Executives were whispering, if this kid's that confident, if he's already got the locker room, why isn't he starting? And that's the dangerous truth. The Browns weren't just battling their own drama anymore. The entire league was watching. Think about what Shedeur exposed, the old playbook of silence. The rookie waits his turn. The coach knows best. Players fall in line. That model has ruled the NFL for decades. But one ESPN interview cracked it wide open. Suddenly, player empowerment wasn't just about contracts or social media. It was about control of the story itself. In Cleveland, they weren't in control anymore. Kevin Stefanski could repeat cliches at pressers. Ownership could call emergency meetings. The front office could try to spin narratives. None of it mattered. Because when a third-string quarterback says one line on live television and instantly earns more respect than the head coach, the game is already over. The crazy part? Shedeur hasn't even started a game. No highlight reel wins, no playoff appearances, no miracle comebacks. Just presence. Just patience, just precision in knowing when to strike. And that's what terrifies the Browns the most. If he can flip the narrative from the sideline, imagine what happens when he finally takes the field. So where does this story go next? That's the suspense. Does Stefanski cave and start him, hoping to salvage control? Does ownership step in and force a move? Or do the Browns double down on dysfunction and watch the franchise fracture in real time? No matter the path, the power has already shifted. It's no longer Stefanski's team. It's not even ownership's team. It's Shedeur Sanders' team, and the world knows it. The Browns can fight it. They can delay it, but they can't stop it, because this wasn't just a quote. It was a line in the sand. A new era. A quarterback claiming not just his spot on the roster, but his place in the story. And when the dust settles, one truth will remain. Everybody knows what happens when Shedeur Sanders actually gets to play.